Hey everyone, my name's John T. Wright. Whether you like me or not, ready or not, here I come. And I'll tell you what, the Holy Father says, "Thou shalt have no other God before me." And thou, how dare you have Donald Trump before him? And how do you feel today? You see, Donald Trump's been acting as your little messiah for a long time. And you know what? The Holy Father is a jealous God. My God in heaven is a very jealous God. And I feel his anger and wrath all the time. And I just want to let it go and let him have his show. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. The Holy Father is in me, and I am in the Holy Father. And I'm telling you this without a shadow of a doubt. God told me months ago, and Ernie Toback, I told him this. And I have his staff over here, and I have a lot of other things too, by the way. I should have brought it out. I guess I could put on my referee shirt too. You know, would that help? And I think Texas is getting a calling card. You know, I've called Joel Osteen's office, and you know, the funniest thing is God put me up to giving him a call. And the Holy Father really does love Jimmy Swaggart. And Jimmy Swaggart did tell the truth. And I don't know. I don't know if I've ever heard Jimmy Swaggart actually say the name Jesus. But I do know that the Lord's name is Yah, like hallelujah, and Yahweh HaMessiah, and Yahshua. And, I mean, it's been revealed to me in such ways that, hey, I had, in 2014, I had a Bible shaking in my hand. Or the Bible started shaking while I'm reading Revelations, and the keys fell right out in my lap. And I showed you guys the house from hell right there. And I'll tell you, you look back at that film, right there where that truck is, right there was where my Corvette was parked there, but it was parked nose-dived into that parking space, and there was a tent that was over it. You know, a tent. I like to have my car in a car tent, and it was sitting in the perfect, it ran, or, you know, it's a Corvette. And Susan's car was right next door to it, right there where that other car is. And I didn't jump off the two-story part of the roof. I came out of that back bedroom window where you see some fixing on it, right there. That's where there was an air conditioner in that bedroom for Susan. She had it there prior to me ever living there. But there's a window right there. I came through that window. I jumped out that window. I ran down and I jumped out right next to Susan, right there where there's a little dark spot right there, where there's like a special spot. That's a fucking cemetery for 2 dogs that she has there in boxes. You know, what is this about right there? And I told you the truth about that. Right there where that truck is, when all these things happened, and I finally went for my car. I jumped in my car. Oh my gosh, all the things that happened in that house. I jumped in my car. I got that car started up. I got it in reverse. I tried to get out of there. My car just got grabbed. God Almighty grabbed my car. Don't think that God Almighty doesn't have the power to reach down and physically grab your car like, oh my God, have I done something fucking wrong or what? You know, I'm telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And you know, in the previous videos, I was mad, and I actually punched this Bible, I think 4 or 5 times right on camera. And my anger is such because the Holy Father is striking through me. This is what I feel is going on. I'm the nicest guy in the world until you fucking pissed me off. You know, this is like the Hulk, whatever it is, Dan Brannon, you know, like, and DB right there, Dan Brannon, whatever it is. The Hulk, and the guy turns green and fucking like that. Well, it's not good. And when this happens, you never know we're going to end up, it's like a fucking roulette wheel, and time could advance, and people have all these tattoos now. They never had them before this. In 2014, they never had tattoos like this. I mean, some people had tattoos, I know, but not like what I'm seeing. I've seen a whole bunch of changes and stuff, and I'm telling you the truth. And you know, like today, before I was so rudely interrupted, I got a phone call, you know, from Susan Donahoe, and I got to tell her. I said, I put some packages in the back of your truck. I seen your truck parked down at the river. You know, she's homeless. I mean, she went through the same events did in this house, and you know, God will use good for evil. And I talked to Susan about this, you know, and how it is and stuff. And you know, I talked to her about. She told me this, and I'll tell you this because we went over it today. We went over this. I said, I was talking to her, and she goes, I tried Christianity, but I never got nothing out of it. She goes, then I went straight to voodoo. And I went, wow, she went straight to voodoo. And, you know, and I'm trying to work this out, you know, and I'm trying to think what the things that God says in the book. The truth is in the book, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And, you know, like a good person can show you the truth in this here book, you know, let's put it like this, okay? I don't know if I'll resonate to you this way, but okay. Now, thou shalt have no other God before me. Okay, wow. Thou shalt have no other God before me. Now, Susan says, well, I never got nothing out of Christianity, but I went to voodoo. Now, all of these here people, whether they know it or not, I wonder, and I'm just wondering, I'm not trying to get myself in trouble and overstating anything, because God doesn't let me see things clearly, but He lets me see things and know He's mad and stuff like this, and He shows me, and it's like, it's on the need-to-know basis, it seems like, you know, you just never know what you're going to get. Life is like a box of chocolates, and if I spin that roulette wheel and it lands on 00, wow, things happen. And I've got these fantastic women that keep me nice. Cassie's here, and she's looking great. She's in her G-string. Hey, and you're gonna have to hang in there on the G-string summit this here holiday season. I don't do much Thanksgiving. I do too much Christmas, and I've got reasons why. The 29th of September, I think, is when the Lord got actually crucified. Okay, it's not the darkest day of the year, which is Christmas time. And bad news for you guys, you're following a cult. But if you did want to, you know, recognize that the Lord actually was crucified around the 29th of September, you can go and research it, and you can tell me if you found any difference in the thing that I tell you. I mean, I just researched it as a person that wanted to know, because I need to know, you know. If you knew better, you'd do better, is what I had always said. There's a little bit of proof in the pudding. So now, thou shalt have no other God. And all these people are tapping into something. Oh, they're Satanists. Well, where does all these people get their power? Susan said they were all these religions is a cult. And she said even Christianity is. Well, I don't know about this cult. I've never did cults. Although I do believe in the power of the Holy Father. And what is I'm being told? Oh. This is it. My wife, Karina, both wives were jealous of each other. That's funny, because Kathy was jealous of Karina, and Karina was jealous of Kathy, and I didn't know goddamn why. Women. You know, but anyway, that's the difference between men and women. Women can get jealous, and men can get jealous too. Oversensitivity, man. Gosh, you gotta remember, it takes two to tango. Now, back to this. Out of body presence with the Lord. Am I saying that right? Something out of body. Presence with the Lord out of body. Out of body presence with the Lord. You know, when you're in a state where you are presence with the Lord, you've come to a state where you're kind of like you're out of body in your presence with the Lord. And that is what happens. And my first wife, she talked about that all the time. And we both knew that saying. I won't say she talked about it all the time, but her mother went to church and she, you know, she claimed that she spoke in tongues. You know, they said she spoke in tongues. I don't know. You know, I just don't know. I just know this one. If God wanted you to know something, He would tell you in plain English that you would understand. But I don't know about this talking with tongues because I've never done it. I gosh darn never did it. You know? But I caught them doing that in that church in Morton, Washington. That at George Curry's church. And you know what? I took George Curry $700 one time, and I also took my brother Jerry $1,000 in a Wheatie box. And I'll tell you about the George Curry thing. And Jerry, I actually had to knock Jerry's off because you know what? I didn't want money to be an issue between me and Jerry. I already had sex with Jerry's wife. I carried the burden for many years. I finally got the opportunity to tell my brother Jerry in 1985, prior to the Merwin's murder, you know, and, you know, Jerry always kept me under his goddamn control because I feel in guilt around him. So I come clean and that. And then he hits me for $1,000. Now I've got, he hits me up for $1,000 over $1,000, $1,000. Oh, I'll give $1,000. Or no, how would he say? $1,000, whatever. $1,000. Well, I gave him $1,000 bills. $1,000 $1 bills in a Wheaties box. And I had to knock off the money pretty much by do this, whatever, you know, let's just get this out of the way. You know, I never got the money back, and he goddamn sat there and he fucking browbeated me for that $1,000 bill. Hey Dad, like I owe him. Hey Dad, I'm not your goddamn daddy, no fucking goddamn more, you fucker. And now you should tell the truth, Jerry, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And the other one was George Curry. Now, before I ever gave Jerry the $1,000, I didn't give Jerry. I subtracted George Curry's money before I took Jerry's $1,000 off the equation to lower it down. That's why I say I gave George Curry the higher instead of the lower. So anyway, I could have gave him less, but I gave him more, or I gave him the right amount, 10%, because I thought, gosh, what should I do with part of this money? I should give a tithe, you know, because I kind of believe in giving a tithe. And all of a sudden, God says, give George Curry 10%. And I go, George Curry, 10%? God says 10%. And I said 10%? He said 10%. So, okay, I goddamn, you know, when God says this, you're going to goddamn do this. God's going to test you just like that gooey duck today. So I went and I took George Curry as fast as I could. I drove out to Morton and I gave George Curry that money. I drove right into his driveway. I just hopped out of my rig. I walked up, knocked on the door, and I also put a film and stuff, and it's going to state this. It's either here or on the Tube Sock Killers, the Tube Sock Mineral Killers. Look it up, it's there. So anyway, I go and knock on the door, and George's wife comes to the door, and she opens the door, and she looks up, and she says, George, you wouldn't believe who's here. It's John Wright. And I looked up, and I could see George, and I could see a picture of Billy Graham right there. Billy Graham. And George is there with his weight bar, because George is a weightlifter. You know, George is a Belfast fighting champ in Ireland champion that's fled Belstaff, Ireland. He's came to America, and now he's a preacher too, you know. And by the way, inside that church, when I was a kid, you know, God told me to take him some fucking money. George Curry. So I did. And his wife was there, and I said, I knocked on the door, she opened the door. There's George. George, you wouldn't believe who's here. It's John. John Wright. And I said, oh, I can't stay, you know. Here, I believe that I'm supposed to give you this, and I gotta go. And I just excused myself out of there and left, just like that. But I seen George Curry, the thing, and this and everything. And, you know, I'm just going to cut to this. I went, and, you know, I'm like a fool with money. I spent my money like water. You know, I spent my money like water, and this one day, you know, I'm broke. And I'm driving from, you know, from the cemetery down where the bowling alley is, where you come into Morton, right through, and I'm just coming from wherever, you know, and I'm coming through. I'm going to stop at my dad's, and I'm going to ask him for $5 so I could get home to Bonnie's house, because they got me fucking living between there and there, broke, you know. And I get right there at that Catholic church, and I look back over my shoulder, and I could see George Curry's house right there. And I said, I wish I had that money back. And I reached in my pocket so fast, just like it stopped, time stopped, and I was there. I had that wallet out, and I had pulled this money out of the wallet. And it was all this money. And, you know, all of a sudden, the truck, it's just like I went like this. I mean, all this happened, and I'm still right here at this here point. It's like something else that happened, and, you know, and I had all that money back, and I said, I don't know how you do this, but I like it. He could put money right back in your wallet again. I mean, he tested me. Give that money away to George Curry, and I got that money back. I mean, this is like the Ring story. My Brian Silcox and Andy came to my house the night before they got killed. No, let's see, they got home that night, but the very next night they got killed. Now, Brian was at the house, and he comes in, him and Kyle comes in, and Denise is there. Denise Johnson, this is the psychiatrist's ex-wife. And he's a psychiatrist that runs the Capital Medical Center Psychiatry. He's the head nut job of Lily, up on Lily Road at the Capital Medical Center there. So anyway, me and Denise is there, and Brian and Andy comes walking through the house. My back door's open. The kids can walk in the house. My door's open to people. You know, I never locked the doors back then. And Brian comes around the corner. Denise is there. That's his mom's. Denise is his mother's nanny. She cooks for her and stuff too. And Denise made it to my house because Kathy must have said something about me, and all of a sudden she's there. And also my niece Nicole brought her over there too. Denise Johnson. Hey baby, you're a drunk, and you know, I know you got problems, and we've talked. Anyway, history there too. I got many stories. So now, man, I get so up. Oh, so anyway, Brian and Kyle's came in, and they've seen me and Denise there, and Brian goes, "You and Denise? Wow, you know." He says, "I got some bud. Let's smoke some. I've got some bud." And I said, "Well, if you got some bud, let's do smokes. If you got some, let's do some." That was my exact words. And he says, "And I got a brand new pipe too." And he pulled out his pipe and he smoked me out. That was the first time he ever smoked pot with me. And then he you know, we talked and stuff, and, you know, John Candy was on TV. And I said, look, you guys, you see John Candy here? John Candy, at the height of his career, he dies one night, never to be seen again. Sam Kinison dies one night, never to be seen again. And another star, I said, died, never seen again. And no one knows why these people died. They've just never been seen again. And, you know, they're just died. They've never been seen again. They died, you know, they were here and they were so great, they're gone now, you know. And the next thing Brian says, it's 10:13, I gotta go, they'll lock me out. And I walked him to the door and I told him, I said, you know, if you need to come over here and stay, you could stay here. They've been locking them out. Those boys were sleeping in Penny Playground down there. Penny Playground down there in Chehalis, Washington, I found out. Those boys were being locked out of their homes. If they're not home by 10 o'clock, they're locked out. It's one of these tough love things that's going on. So anyway, you know, I told Brian when you left the house that night, hey, if you need a place to stay, why don't you just move over here? Just tell your mom you're just moving home. Your mom could just come by here and pick you up and stuff, and it'll be easier for you and your brother, you know. And he said, no, mom will think, you know, revenge. And I said, oh shit. I said, just goddamn, just get over it. I said, if you're sleeping at the park, I said, you could always come here. That door's open, you know. Just go like that. And, you know, he left that night, said bye to him and stuff like that. And you never know when's the last time you're ever going to say goodbye to somebody, and you should never leave on a bad note. Something bad may happen to him, I found out a long time ago. And I don't like leaving people on a bad note. And Brian made it, you know, home that night. They didn't lock him out, but the very next night, he got locked out, and they ended up in the Adolphson's car, the real estate agent's car, up on the Brown Road, like the Browns' properties next door to the bowling alley, Brown's properties next door to my sister's house, and this is up on the Brown Road. And there's something that, oh, Susan says that her house over there on 1007th 7th Street in Camas, Washington, she said stuff about the Browns being there, and I'm like, the Browns are there too. And then I dropped the bomb on her and I let her have it about something, and I put it in the videos too recently. I always put all the evidence in here because I'm supposed to keep track of everything. I'm supposed to record this for the Holy Father, he tells me, for future generations. I don't know how it's going to come together, but we're working it. So anyway, now, where am I at here? I don't want to get off subject too far. So anyway, God uses people in amazing ways. There's so many things that I'd love to tell you and stuff and share with you. But I do know that you guys are involved in a cultist turkey thing with everything and the key bank and everything that I was telling you. And, you know, by the way, I took Susan a blanket just like this one. I bought two of them. I bought one for here at my place. I actually bought two of them for me. I was going to put them up here if it got cold. I gave her one of them. I bought her some thermal wear, 2 outfits, and some socks and stuff. And I had a conversation with her, and she told me that a nice man took her home and had dinner with her the other night, a Thanksgiving dinner, the day before Thanksgiving and stuff. And she told me about the church and her getting a key and stuff and all this stuff from the church, and told me some stuff. And I told her about, you know, church and stuff being a Trojan horse and what we do know and what we do know what happened in that house. And she said, well, I got a key. And I told her, I said, well, there's a difference in your key, Susan, and the difference in the key that I got. The difference was I had it shaking in my hand. It dropped in my hand. I went down to the Camas mill, the Georgia Pacific mill. I went like this. I threw it in the water that goes in the creek. And it's this white thing that you see. I have some footage. It's not very good footage. It's shaky, but you can see it. I drive by it, going up the hill, and I could put it on here. And I said, anything worth having's worth working for, and the keys went right underneath that mill. And like I said, Susan, there's a difference between how you got your key and mine. And that church may be nothing more than a Trojan horse. And this is all a cult. And I said, those are Sunday worshipers. And we know that the Sabbath is on Saturday, and the beauty is in the Word. And like hallelujah, it's not Jesus. I'm telling you. You could say, well, he's saying that it never happened. No, the Lord did come happen 2,000 years ago. And by the way, I've been doing everything, and I had gooey duck today, by the way. And in the past show, I told you guys about a swan that disappeared in front of me. And look at this here shirt. It has a swan on it. You see that? The same thing been following me around. This swan, this is a crane. No, it's a heron. Heron was a king from the past that wanted to kill the Lord. I think this is the king. He wanted to kill the Lord, and the Lord, when the Lord was an infant child, he told Mary and Joseph to go to Egypt. And then when Heron was gone, they got word that it's okay, he can go back now, because Heron was now dead. And it says in the Bible about a king that came up from the past, and I believe that maybe it might be Heron. Because I'll tell you what, I had this thing happen to me down there at Steamboat Landing, where this heron flew right up to me, flew right up while I'm on the observation deck. And it flew right up and it landed right there. And I watched it land and landed right there. And I thought, well, that was kind of neat, And then all of a sudden that heron went down. I thought, wow, it's going down for a fish, And I watched for 10 minutes. It never came back up. It just disappeared. It should have came up. It should have came back up, And, I mean, that just blew my mind. And I told somebody about it. They go, you mean it didn't come up? I said, it didn't come up. I walked down that ramp. I walked right down there where I painted this thing that said, I am the rock. And I put Una there because Una's the, I think Una, it's the way that she says her name, spelled her name. She wrote her name down there next to my name down there, and then I painted it down there where she sits. So she's seen it, the heart that goes up and the heart that goes down. What goes up did come down, and I'm the Holy Father's son. And I was led there to meet the Sharia woman, and I did have contact with her, and some of the things that's happening are, let's say, what's the word? They really do happen, but it's not, well, I'll tell you in the future, but I'll tell you what, these things that's happened is kind of meant to be. And even me being here, I mean, even all the way out here, there's so many clues. If I told you guys this stuff, that's also been happening, you'd go out and I'd say, it's going to be good in the movie. But, I wish everybody the best. And look, have you goddamn been deceived? Yahweh HaMessiah is the Lord. Jesus is not the Lord. I'm not saying that the Lord never came 2,000 years ago. And where in the Bible does it really say Jesus at? Who made up that name? I mean, is that where it's at? Because I know what my heart is, and I know what happened to me. And Ernie, you gave me the staff, and I should have had it right here for this little movie. But should I put on my shirt too and everything else? And I could turn on the music, but here, 30 minutes, you guys heard enough goddamn bullshit out of me. And you guys are going to have to do what you're going to have to do, just like my dad told me I'm going to have to do what I'm going to have to do when he told me that the money from this bowling alley was stolen. And I said, I don't give a fuck. You got me out of that cage. He says, you just don't understand, John. He also told me that my son Matthew was the only thing that I got, and now they fucking stole them. And you guys, you better not be fucking laughing, because I'm not gonna be fucking joking anymore.